So let me see. Well, I've prattled on for quite a long time. Let me pick up some of these emails I just dropped on the ground. I don't know how you feel about what I talk. I don't know the feeling state that I'm kind of either evoking in you or transmitting in you, but I hope you feel that for me, even though this stuff can sound sort of serious, but for me there's a joy in this. Like this is the great adventure of life. This is, how much can I express the thing that I value most in life? How can I, how much can I express the awakened state of being in life? Right? Can sit around and go, well, nobody understands me. I have this perspective shift where I see unity and I value peace and truth and all these things. And by God, it doesn't seem like people are doing that. And so, I'll sit back and kind of, complain about that. Or you just get on with the business of being awake. Be it. And that's life-changing. That orientation, that's totally life-changing. And as I often say, that doesn't mean you're going to be perfect. Doesn't mean you're going to be perfect at doing that. I'm not perfect at doing that, and I'm well aware of that. And that's okay. Life isn't about some sort of idealized, imagined kind of perfection. That's something that human beings conjure up. They think, an enlightened being is some sort of perfect. Enlightened being is not perfect. Perfect is a really imperfect idea to begin with. Perfect according to whom? Whose idea of perfection would we base the whole idea upon? You talk to 10 different people, you get 10 different ideas of what perfection is. See, it's only an idea. So it's not about being perfect or even an attempt to be perfect. It's not about perfection at all. It's about authenticity. Being authentic, true, and real. And that takes heart. And that takes, I'm responding in one sense right now to a question I got about, that takes forgiveness. At some point, if we are going to be spiritually mature, we have to forgive the world and everybody in it for not being perfect. We have to forgive the world. If you want to be free, at some point, you gotta forgive the whole world and everybody in it for not being perfect. That doesn't mean you agree with it. It doesn't even mean you like it. It doesn't mean you approve with everything. But it means you forgive. Forgive. What does it mean to forgive? This is what forgiveness means to me. Forgiveness means you find that place in your heart, even amongst your pain and your turmoil. You find that place in your heart where even though, fill in the blanks, even though, yada, da, 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 even though something, this happened, that happened, even though, in my heart of hearts, I really wish the very best for that person. If I could somehow deliver them completely into the pure light of being, that's what I would wish for them. It doesn't mean you forget history. It doesn't mean you like everything they ever did. It doesn't mean any of that. You can retain all of that and still find a place in your heart where you would wish the very best. That's what forgiveness is. And a lack of forgiveness and unwillingness of forgiveness is basically, I don't want that. I want that person to be eternally punished. Which is basically to say, I want to get even. I want to even the score. Okay, you can live from that your whole life, but boy, you're going to pay for it. You're really going to pay for it. And the price is going to be very, very high for you and others. But when you can find the place in your heart that really wants the best for all beings, and nobody's left out. All beings means all beings. That's what you want. Then you've at least begun to what I call forgive. Which doesn't mean, again, it doesn't mean necessarily that you forget or you deny the past. It means you're letting go of revenge. And you're finding that place in your heart that really wants the best. Because what I found, until we find that inside, until we really want the best for all beings, until we want the best for those we like and those we don't like, until we want the best for those we disagree with and disagree with, until we want the best for those who are kind and those who are cruel, until we really want the best for them, almost like until we desire that they could be delivered into the light of being and transformed by the light of being into their true nature. Until we want that, then, well, you know what happens. If you reserve that kind of forgiveness, if you refuse to grant it, then guess who suffers for it? You do. And so part of it's also self-forgiveness, which can be tough for the spiritual personality. You know what I mean? It can be tough. The spiritual personality often has a little hang-up on perfection. They have a little hang-up on a difficulty in accepting who they've been, what they've done, their own limitations, their own shadow. That can be a hard thing to kind of take in. Again, a kind of forgiveness for imperfection. Forgiveness is not part of the modern mentality, clearly. You know, every time somebody makes any kind of transgression, even if sometimes if they didn't make any transgression at all, you know, we're just immediately get on the computer and people are just, you know, the amount of hatred and judgment that we're so quick to put upon others is amazing. That forgiveness is not a very high value in modern culture, right? Like I said, the high value in modern culture is resentment, blame. But, you know, it's part of waking up is seeing that doesn't, number one, that doesn't work. That's a little bit of awareness. Oh, that doesn't work. A little bit of awareness. A little more awareness is, oh, they're not separate from me. It's a little more awareness. Oh, I can find what I don't like in the other in myself. Usually what you don't like, what you really resist in someone else, you resist it because you resist seeing that that exists in you. So right now we've got, this great, we've got this great mirror in America, in our culture, in our political system, and it's this mirror that's reflecting back the sort of collective shadow. And it's not what people want to see about themselves, to see in themselves. We think it's only other. Well, if we want this whole thing to go off the cliff, we would just keep rejecting the sort of collective shadow. That's part of forgiveness too, is no longer rejecting it. And again, this is all part of embodiment. It's not like you just snap your fingers and it happens. It can happen for a while. A lot of times when people have big spiritual shifts, to what they realize and who they are and the way they're being and the way they're moving in life can be just one sort of seamless, flowing, largely unself-conscious, unintentional flow of what can feel like kind of perfection. Great, as long as that's happening, everything's great. But there's generally a time when that kind of plays itself out and all of a sudden you're left to confront whatever sticking points you have. Whatever's unacknowledged or unforgiven or unconscious then that's a new phase of one's spiritual life. And when that can be seen, acknowledged, forgiven, then spirit can occupy that much more of you. It can just occupy that much more. But if you don't come to a reckoning with whatever in you is opposed, actually, to the truth of being, if you don't come to a reckoning with that, then to that very extent, the presence of being can't occupy that part of your humanity. It literally can't embody that. Because we're not allowing the light of being in there. So, but to begin to allow the light of being in there that's the beautiful thing. Then you embody that light of being to whatever degree that you've allowed it to shed light on your whole experience of being. And then you can more deeply embody these beautiful truths of being: truth, peace, love, clarity. These are all sort of facets of the jewel of the ground of being. Let me go to a few emails. We're getting close to the end here, so pardon me. I probably won't have time to take phone calls today. Pardon me. Thanks for the emails. I'm always come in and I go through a whole stack of email questions, and I try to get to a few. A lot of them I actually answer in my opening talk. I don't read necessarily every email I answer. Sometimes I just address them during my opening talk, and more often than not, that's how I'm addressing a lot of the emails I get. Dear Aja, could you elaborate on the suffering behind feeling good? Now, that's an interesting question. Can you elaborate on the suffering behind feeling good? I don't mean the counterpart of suffering presenting itself when feeling good disappears, but the inherent feeling of dissatisfaction when attaching to the thrills and good vibes. You know what it's like to attach to feeling really good. You know, you feel really good, or you have a kind of flow, or you have love, or you just feeling good, and something kind of holds on to it a little bit. You know, how can I sustain this? How can I not lose this? And as soon as you're asking that question, you're already starting to grab hold. And as soon as you start to grab hold of it, already you're introducing a kind of conflict into the system. You're already kind of metaphorically putting your feet on the ground and feeling the river push up against you as you start to slow down or stop. When things hurts, it's easy to find that impulse towards the truth. When things feel good, I feel equally deep dissatisfaction, but there is no real impulse to get away from it. Yet the deep pain is there underneath. Any advice on how to orient towards truth in the midst of turmoil, in the midst of turmoiling good feelings? Well, that's a head turner, isn't it? I like it. It's a sort of paradox of noticing that even to attach to feeling good, even if it's a mild attachment, there's an underlying dissatisfaction with it, right? There's a dissatisfaction because what feels good later turns to not so good, right? So this is the way of our external experience. And I don't mean, well, it can be your internal experience too, but the world, you could say. So let's go here. Feeling good or bad happens to you, right? Feeling good or feeling bad happens to you. I feel good, I feel bad. So good's here and feeling bad's here. Here's the two dualities, right? We think I want to go from feeling bad to feeling good, and that'll be it. And if I just can have an unending good experience, then that must be what freedom is. But of course, it's not that, because these feeling good and feeling bad are intimately bound up in each other. They actually only exist in each other's presence. They're like heads and tails on a coin. That they aren't apart. So you can't have one without the other. As you see that, then maybe your attention is not trying to avoid the unpleasant and grasping onto the pleasant or trying to sustain the pleasant, these two perspectives, but you go, what is this thing called I that's both of these that pertain to? So 1, 2, what's the third thing? Right? And the third thing isn't feeling good and it's not feeling bad. It's what's bigger than them, right? That awareness, that presence of being in which good and bad experiences happen. That awareness of being that's beyond pleasant and unpleasant. Because what the emailer here is noticing is even in pleasant experiences, good experiences, there is the seed of dissatisfaction. Great. Don't look for your truth, your home, your destination in pleasant or unpleasant experiences. Again, pleasant, unpleasant. There's something else, right? There's pleasant and unpleasant. Pleasant and unpleasant are playing out within conscious being. time, something that cannot be forced, but should not be ignored either. Thank you for your time, and hopefully I can make it to the U.S. for the next, to meet in person. Well, Craig, I kind of talked a bit about opening the heart. First of all, there's two things I would suggest. Number one is very, very direct. Just intuitively see if you can feel this sort of presence of being or presence of awareness from here, around in this area down in the heart. What is the presence of being or the presence awareness? How is it experienced through the heart? This heartful presence of being. And just intuitively sense that and give attention to that. Just to acknowledge it in your experience. To abide in the presence of the heart. Make that your practice from day to day. The other one is a bit more relative, but it's in many ways just as important as, like I said, it's forgiveness. Sometimes when you look at if the heart's holding, if it seems close, if it seems tight, it's almost always, not always, but almost always, there's an element of a lack of forgiveness. Could be to yourself, could be to somebody else, could be to both. Again, forgiveness is that intention. It's like that in you that feels like if I could just reach out and give someone to the light of their being, just give them away so that I don't have to hold it and remain in judgment. If I could just let go of that person or that situation and just give it to the light of being, just give it to the light of being, wish it well. And when you can really just wish something well, as I said, sometimes it's another, sometimes it's yourself. That's a kind of forgiveness. And you'll feel each time you do that, your heart opens a bit. There's more space. And you can experience this sort of heartful presence a bit more, right? Because the heart, what it really wants to do is just surrender all the judgment, being judgmental. Surrender its resentment. Just wish everything and everybody well. Just free it up. And in the process, you'll be freeing yourself. You'll be freeing yourself. It's a nice sort of fringe benefit. Let's go to one more, and then we'll end the evening, because I know I'm a little bit late. Well, this is a long email, and I'm just going to go right to the simplicity of the question. This is sent by Sophie. Thank you, Sophie. Is there anything that would be good to do to respond to what feels like maybe a slow, gradual awakening? My sense is all I can really do is relax and enjoy the ride. Yeah. You can relax and enjoy the ride, and as you're relaxing and enjoying the ride, you can also sort of orient your attention towards that presence of being, right? Another way to think about it is the presence The awareness that's, say, looking out through your eyes. The feel of that. That awareness actually has a kind of presence to it, has a feel to it. That's why I often call it a kind of field of awareness. Not our idea of awareness, which is kind of cold and distant, but this field, this sort of presence of awareness, this presence of consciousness that's looking through your eyes. I mean, and I'm not saying it's necessarily literally looking through your eyes. You can think of it that way. That's fine. I'm not worried about that. But just that sense of that presence that's looking through. And just that. Just to give attention to that presence. You see, the key in so much of this is simplicity. Directness and simplicity. It's not complication. You know? We actually have to do it. We can't just read about it, right? Or hear about it. Do it. That's why whenever I try to give somebody a little advice, I try to give them something that's practical, something that they can do in the sense of being oriented towards this aware presence of being, or the presence of the heart. That's something you can participate in. That's not something you just think about or you believe or disbelieve. It's essentially something you do. And it's simple and it's direct. And I've found that the more simple and more direct the pointer, the more simple and more direct the practice too, the more powerful it is. So that's why I try to make things as simple and direct as I can. Okay. So I hope you get the feel of that, because without this presence here, then the talk's just a bunch of words, right? It's just a bunch of talk. Without that silent presence, then it's kind of meaningless. So I like to remind all of you that it's where the teaching comes from that's more important than the specifics of the teaching, although that I take as with some importance, of course, but where it comes from is to be oriented towards that is really the most important thing. And so I do hope you sense that when we're meeting together here, and that helps orient you towards that same presence of being within yourself, right? Okay, upcoming events. I'm going to be in Oakland, California, next Saturday, March 17th. March 17th, I'll be in Oakland for an afternoon meeting there. Mukti is going to be in Portland in March 16th in Portland, and she's going to have a silent retreat day and on the 17th in Portland as well. So Portland for Mukti on the 16th and 17th. And she'll be doing a retreat at Loon Lake, a 5-night retreat, which is in British Columbia, April 15th to the 20th. So April 15th to the 20th, a retreat from Mukti, 5-night at Loon Lake. Next upcoming broadcast here, free live broadcast, is going to be on next Wednesday evening. So next week on Wednesday, Mukti will be here. Thank you for being here and participating and sharing your presence with me, because I really do, like I said, I really do connect and I really do feel it. And I hope you do too. And thank you for any support that you give. This program, it's free, and therefore it's supported by donations for the room and the engineers and the people on the phone, and actually many more behind the scenes. So if you feel supported if you feel drawn to support the show, you're welcome to donate and support us. So any details you might want on me or Mukti, our schedules mine is at adyashanti.org, of course, which you're probably on right now. And of course, Mukti's can be found at muktisource.org. You can go to our websites and see what's up and what's coming up. So thanks for being with me. And until we meet again, may we both sort of abide in our presence of being and maybe embody that to the best of our ability in our lives. Be well.
Thank you for listening in on Radio Adyashanti, presented by Open Gate Sangha, online at adyashanti.org. This program is listener-supported. If you'd like to contribute, click on the donation link in the left-hand column. Upcoming broadcasts are announced in the upper right corner of the radio page at Adyashanti's Cafe Dharma. This program was recorded and will soon be available to purchase as a download. Thank you again for listening. Enjoy the music as we conclude this evening's webcast. And please, join us again.
Rising with eastern light, still as the dew of the morning, fresh from a dream